Hello and welcome to Team Liquid's strategy guide series for Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. I am Telegon, and today I'm going to break down the mechanics and strategy for normal and heroic Echo of Neltharion. In every phase, Neltharion will cast Twisted Earth, causing rocky walls to segment off sections of the arena. Several mechanics allow you to break small sections of the wall and access blocked off sections of the arena. These rock formations are different in each phase. The Rushing Darkness mechanic exists in every phase, targeting several players and knocking them back. If they collide with a wall segment, it will shatter. Calamitous Strike is the tank mechanic for phases 1 and 3. This knocks them back. If they collide with a wall segment, it will shatter. In phase 2, the mechanic changes to Sunder Shadow, which makes a player incorporeal, allowing them to move through walls. The player may break walls with this mechanic by putting a wall between their shadow and current location. When the boss casts Shadow Strike, the section of the wall between them will shatter. We will never want to use Rushing Darkness to break a wall in Heroic. Instead, we will use the tank mechanics in phase 1 and 2 to move between areas. Causing a Twisted Earth segment to shatter causes damage to the impacting player, as well as a stacking dot to all players for 14 seconds. Shatter also causes swirlies to spawn throughout the arena. This mechanic is why we want to avoid breaking extra wall segments with Rushing Darkness. We keep raid damage low by only ever breaking the segment we need using the tank mechanics. Now that we've been through the more fight-defining multi-stage mechanics, let's break down the flow of each phase. In phase 1, we will want to start in the area the boss spawns, and move clockwise through the Twisted Earth areas as the boss casts Echoing Fissure. To do this, we can define a flow where our tank breaks the wall to the new area before Echoing Fissure, and then the other tank takes the boss in the direction opposite the opening nearest the edge of the room, for him to cast Echoing Fissure away from us. The raid will then move to the new area, and the boss will follow after finishing his cast. We will do this for 2 or 3 casts, depending on our damage, and then begin phase 2. The last mechanic that occurs in this phase is called Volcanic Heart. This targets several players with a debuff that causes them to explode in a medium radius after 7 seconds. You should simply spread out with this mechanic and avoid hitting other players. There is a short transition at the end of phase 1 before phase 2 begins, where Neltharion destroys the phase 1 pattern of Twisted Earth. He also casts Surrender to Corruption, which deals damage to all players and on Heroic, afflicts several players with Corruption. At the beginning of this transition, all of the spreading lava from Echoing Fissure will disappear, so don't worry if it seems cramped at the end of phase 1. Players who are corrupted become enemies to every other player and can be damaged as if they were one. In phase 2, we retain several abilities from phase 1. The Rushing Darkness ability, which we should continue to avoid breaking walls with, instead aiming them at the edge of the room. We also have Volcanic Heart and new Twisted Earth formations. Recall, in phase 2, the tank mechanic Calamitous Strike becomes Sunder Shadow, which separates a player from their shadow. The affected player is allowed to move through Twisted Earth while incorporeal. Neltharion follows this cast with Shadow Strike, which causes the player's shadow to return to their body. Twisted Earth in the path of the player's body and their shadow is shattered. Several Voice from Beyond adds spawn in this phase, split between different areas segmented by a new P2 wall formation. While alive, these adds cause Neltharion to take 99% reduced damage upon reaching a 35% health threshold. So we must make our way through sections of Twisted Earth and kill them all before continuing on to phase 3. These adds spawn with an absorbed shield called Hidden and Void, which upon removal causes the adds to become attackable by all players on Heroic, while dealing raid damage to all players by casting Ruptured Veil until defeated. On Heroic, this mechanic causes all the Voices from Beyond to be untargetable by players who are not afflicted by corruption. So several players will periodically be turned evil, and they will need to break the absorb on the Voice from Beyond. Neltharion will periodically cast a heavy shadow damage hit to all players called Umbral Annihilation. Each cast deals 100% more damage, and this puts time pressure onto the phase. Raid and personal cooldowns can be allocated to later hits of Umbral Annihilation to avoid deaths. Throughout P2, there will also be constant swirlies that must be dodged around the arena, called Crumbling Facade. In phase 3, we regain the P1 tank mechanic, called Calamitous Strike, while retaining Rushing Darkness and losing, finally, Volcanic Heart. The primary interaction in this phase is between 2 abilities called Sunder Reality and Ebon Destruction. Sunder Reality turns a section of nearby Twisted Earth into portals that continuously summon adds while open. On Heroic, these adds gain a buff called Unstable Mutation, which increases their damage done by 75% every 2 seconds they are alive. These portals can be closed by standing inside them during Ebon Destruction. Players need to be inside these portals when the Ebon Destruction cast resolves, otherwise they will take lethal damage. With that, we very much hope you found this guide useful. Feel free to leave feedback or commentary below this video, and make sure to keep an eye on this channel as more guides will be coming out soon. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.